Have you ever read a newspaper or heard the evening news and something devastating happened to a family that you can't help but think, thank goodness that never happened to my family, that it was the other family? My story is about being the other family. I've been married to the same woman for 32 years, and we had 3 beautiful children, and very proud of them, and they've accomplished a lot. But unfortunately, our youngest, Jordan, didn't see himself that way and took his life. He died by suicide. Now, Jordan, he had a lot of things going on positive that we look back on and we're wondering, how could he have taken his life? How could he have sunk to a place where he didn't want to be here anymore with so many great things going on in his life at that time? One of which was he was going to follow in his dad's footsteps. I'm a military veteran. He had already been accepted by the Air Force and was just awaiting his dates to go to his boot camp and carry on with that career. 3 colleges had also accepted him. He wanted to also look at heavy equipment operation. And third, he was part of a band with his brother and 2 other brothers that were doing very well up in the Lindsay, Peterborough area, had actually made a CD and were scheduled just 1 week after his death to play at the Opera House in Toronto, an iconic nightclub where many big bands had started, and Jordan worked very hard to get demos in to that, so that Much Music and Roadrunner Records Canada could see and hear them. Only 8 bands were picked. They were one of them. So these 3 things that were very important in his life that he talked about constantly mattered nothing at all, let alone a loving family, a close family, that if he'd known how much he had hurt us, he would have never done what he done. But that's the story of mental illness and how it can grow to take over a person's life. He had many friends. He didn't show the depression that we normally associate with suicide. He seemed anything but. He seemed to be on top of his game. But looking back, you can understand that what we call stigma today, and through history really, he felt he couldn't come forward to tell anybody about what was possibly going on in his mind that was putting him in a place where it was getting darker and darker to that day where he took his life. On January 23rd, 2011, I'm sitting in the rec room with my 2 boys, Jordan and Brandon, my oldest, and we're watching an NFL football game. It's the playoffs, and our team is playing, and we always watch sports together. Well, our team won. It was a great night. Satisfied, I got up. It was getting kind of late. Told the boys I had a course at work the next morning. I had to get my sleep, and I said goodnight to them, and I'd see them in the morning. Little did I know that would be the last time I seen Jordan alive. In the middle of the morning, I had to get up to go to the bathroom. In the pitch dark, as I'm making my way back to my room, I have to pass Jordan's room. And in the crack of his door, I could see there was a blue glow in his room, and I thought he might have left his TV on because sometimes he played Xbox with his friends. And so I said, I'll just go in and shut that off. And I pushed on the door, and the door didn't move. And I pushed a little harder and thinking to myself, what's he got behind this door? Like, what, you know? So I got my hand in there enough that I could turn the light on, get my head in far enough to see what he had piled up behind the door, and it was my son. The skate lace that he used as a belt for years after his minor hockey career, things that kids did at the time, was now the noose around his neck. He was dead. The mayhem that happened after that is just a blur. 911, paramedics, police, sitting at the hospital. They actually recovered my son, but he had been dead long enough that he was brain dead. They didn't suspect he would live more than 24 hours, and he didn't. I had missed him, I believe, by minutes. That's forever in my head that I could have saved him had I been 10, 15 minutes earlier. Who knows? The problem with suicide is there's so many questions after. So many questions. They never go away, actually. My whole family had to get professional help. We still do on occasion, just to help us. There was a letter, there was a will. And we found more out about what was going on with our son's thinking at that time. In that letter, he had stated that he didn't like how the world was operating today. He didn't trust a lot of the world leaders. He said that he wasn't down, which I believe he meant not depressed, because he probably would have thought that's what people are thinking. But he had lost touch with the world, obviously. And he finished that letter with, "I love my family. I love my friends. You know who you are." And again, think about it. If he knew how much he was going to hurt everybody by doing this, he would not have done it. Mentally, by holding it in, he had to have known there was something going on inside of his mind, either weeks, months, years, who knows. But it took him over. And that's why I talk today to whoever I can, anyone, to let people know you're not alone, to speak up. The stigma is literally killing people. It's nobody's fault when it comes to mental illness. It stems from genetics. It could be damage to the brain through sports or falls or otherwise. Critical events in their lives. There's so many reasons, but the fact is they can be helped. 1 in 5 are afflicted with mental illness in their lifetime. Suicide is the number 2 killer of our children, our young people, number 2. Accidents, car accidents are number 1, and some of them could possibly have been suicide, they said. It doesn't have to be that way. If we open up, if we can be compassionate about mental illness like we are about most illnesses physically, those afflicted will come forward. They will look for the help they need and know that there's others also in need of help, and they won't feel all alone. We have to be able to talk openly, accept it, and be compassionate about it. I want you to think about it. In the adult body, there's 206 bones. We have no problem understanding when somebody breaks or cracks or there's a contusion to a bone. That's not a big deal. But we have 100 billion electrochemical neurons, 100 billion in our brain that manages everything in your body. Why can't we accept that they could be damaged, that they may not have been working properly from the beginning, and accept that mental illness is a part of some people? Because it is, 1 in 5. Most mental illnesses will be found out by age 14, 50%, 75% by 24, age of 24. Talk to your children, open up the conversation, let them know it's okay to talk about it. I don't ever want anybody to go through the pain we've went through. There's no need of it. The stigma has to be dropped. You've heard it on TV and radio over and over and over. But it's that easy. By talking, people will feel less afraid and come forward. And they need to get to help. Be it emergency at a hospital, their doctor, a parish, whatever's comfortable to them, but they have to go to somebody to get help. It can't manifest and end up like our son Jordan. We'll never have the answers fully. Please be open, compassionate to those that are afflicted. And I don't want anybody to ever be that other family that you see in the newspaper or hear on the news. Thank you.